Okay,
Huh? You can continue, Social.
Okay, so in Mule, there is API gateway and auto discovery. I will go through all the details about this API gateway and auto discovery today. So, in API gateway we have two things. Like one is functional requirement and one is non-functional requirement. Okay, so functional requirement, which means like actual business logic, whatever we are implementing. Let's suppose and you are getting some data from database or from Salesforce, and then we are doing some transformations and we are updating those data to some target systems. So all those business logic, whatever we are implementing, so that will come as part of functional requirement. And also we have a non-functional requirement. Let's suppose throttling, certificate, basic authentications, OAuth, caching, and client ID enforcement. So those are actually non-functional requirement. Let's suppose we are implementing both in the same time in the codes. After 10-20 days, let's suppose the certificates expires. Then uh, we need to change our code, and again we need to redeploy that one. Okay, so right now I'm using, for example, I'm using basic authentications to authorize my APIs. In future, let's suppose I want to change it to OAuth, or uh, let's suppose or client ID and secret enforcement. So in that case, again, I need to change my code and redeploy the code. So that's not a good things actually. So if something changing in business logic, that's fair. Like we are going to change our code and redeploy the code. But if something changing in the authentication side, then it's not like good. Like every time I will go and change the code and redeploy. So for that, I will separate this non-functional requirement and functional requirement. Okay. So what I will do in the Mule, we have a component called API gateway. So that will manage all these authentications and uh, non-functional requirement. Like it has some other features, like it will provide you the policy. Or if someone is trying to break the policy, it will show you all those things in the graphs. So there are many other features. That is the other topic. And if I will move this non-functional requirement to API gateway, and I have only functional requirement in my Mule code, so it will be good, right? If you want to change something here, no need to change the code and no need to redeploy the code. uh, any question here till now? Okay, so in the Mule, we have API gateway. How this API gateway, who is going to manage this API gateway? How it's be done? So in the Mule, like when you log in any point platform, okay, we have an API manager, and this is kind of controller. So if in the API manager, you can configure the proxy and all those things. So how this link to this API gateway, and how this is linked to business logic, whatever actual Mule code we are implementing. So that is linked via auto discovery. So this API manager use auto discovery mechanism to connect with this business logic. So let's suppose you want to apply some policy. Okay, so we go to API manager and configure that policy, and that policy then we need to map with our API. So that with the help of auto discovery, we are doing that one. Okay, so any question here, Sam?
Just clear. Yeah, I don't have any question. Yeah.
Okay, and
Thank you.
Brooke?
Yeah, we good.
Okay,
Continue. Yeah.
so all good. Amen.
I'm good.
Okay. So in Mule, uh, we have two things like Mule runtime and control panel. Okay, this control plane and runtime plane. What do you mean by Mule runtime, and what do you mean by control plane? So a control plane is like when you are logging to any point platforms. So in the any point platform, you have runtime manager, API manager. So from runtime manager or API manager, you are controlling all the Mule's applications, right? When you go to runtime manager and you will say stop, it will stop the applications. When you will say start, it will start. You can see the logs, all those things. It's kind of control panels you are doing. So this is the control panel. And runtime, Mule runtime is actually where your application is running in the server. Let's suppose there are different workers and you are deploying your application in that worker. Worker means nothing, it's a VM node where some Mule runtimes are installed. And Mule internally use Tomcat actually to deploy your application. So they configure Tomcat internally. Okay. So in the control panel, we have API manager. I'm talking in perspective of API gateway and auto discovery. I'm not covering all the control panel component like runtime manager and all. So we have API manager and we have any point exchange. What do you mean by what is the use of any point exchange? So any point exchange is like when we are designing some ramels or any template or any asset when you are designing in design center. Okay, so that one we need to publish it to any point exchange. Once you publish that one in any point exchange, you can either make it public or private. If you are making it public, it is available for all the Mule uh, users who have access to any point platform, and they can see your template or whatever ramel you share in the any point exchange. If you make it private, it will be available only to your organizations. That's it. So this API manager is tightly coupled with this guy, any point exchange. So once you publish that ramel to any point exchange, that ramel is available, that API is available in API manager to configure the proxy. Okay. So what this guy will do? This guy will go to API manager and create a proxy API, importing this ramel. So after creating this proxy, you will get a API ID. Okay, this API ID, let's suppose this API ID is used for auto discovery. We have to map this API ID with the our applications. I will show you when we will do some practical for that. I will show you that one, those details. Okay, so now in the Mule runtime, so this is the part of control plane, and now I'm going to discuss about this Mule runtime. We have implementation layer and we have orchestration layer. So in this implementation layer, actual things like whatever we are developing and whatever we deploy the code, that is the code that is there. Let's suppose you are deploying some code in cloud hub or on-prem server, right? So those whatever actual business logic where it is running, it's in the implementation layer. And here in orchestration layer, it's a API gateway. Okay, it's like a security guard gatekeeper. Okay, gatekeeper for implementation layer. And here there will be some whatever we are creating this API manager policy and all those policy will be deployed here in the API gateway. Okay, so now how this Mule runtime and this control plane will communicate with each other. So there is a runtime agent. Okay, that guy is responsible to communicate between Mule runtime and the control plane. Okay, so this Mule runtime agent has so many tasks. For example, it will communicate between this control plane and Mule runtime. Also, this guy sometimes keep on checking the health of the Mule uh, worker. Okay, in every 5 or 6 minutes, it will keep on pinging this uh, worker and check the health. If something it will not get the response, it will automatically tell this guy control plane, okay, this guy is not responding, let's restart this server. So there are multiple tasks for this runtime agent, that's different topics. So here runtime agent is responsible to communicate between Mule runtime and the control plane. Okay, now let's suppose we are developing some code, and we want to configure this MuleSoft API gateway. Okay, so what we need to do, like we created an proxy API here, that's API, let's suppose API ID is 1234, and here we need to configure in the auto discovery, there is a component called auto discovery. We need to configure same ID whatever we are getting, this ID, uh, in the auto discovery of the component here. Okay, once we configure this one, let's suppose I configure this API ID 1234 in my code in auto discovery, and we are deploying that code. Then runtime agent, what runtime agent will do, it will check, okay, oh, auto discovery is configured and the API ID is 1234. So what this guy will do, okay, this guy will take this one and give it to control plane API manager. This is the API ID 1234, can you map this API proxy with this guy, this component. So to communicate this one, to communicate from Mule runtime to control plane, Mule this runtime agent need platform client ID and client secret also. So that we need to provide uh, in the cloud when we are deploying the code. So that all those things I will show you while doing the one of the practicals. Okay. So now once this guy will say, okay, this is the API ID for this component, and can you map this proxy API with this guy? So it will communicate to control plane. So this guy will, the API manager will map this one and show the status as active. Now let's suppose we are applying some policy. After this mappings and everything is done, we need to apply some policy, right? When we are applying some policy, so this guy, API manager and endpoint exchange, will make sure that these policies should be enforced. Okay, let's suppose we will get some endpoint and a consumer is trying to access our endpoint. Okay, and when the consumer is trying to access the endpoint, this gatekeeper will come into picture. Okay, this guy will not directly access our actual code. This gatekeeper will come into picture, and once this policy is there, so let's suppose we have a basic authentications policy. So this API gateway will ask, okay, can you show me your username and password? Okay, if the username and password is there and it's correct, then that request will come here. Otherwise this guy will return back saying authentications errors, you are not allowed. So let's suppose in future I'm using basic authentication now, and in future if I want to change it to client ID and secret. So what I will do, only I will go to API manager and update the policy, and it will again this guy will communicate via runtime agent, and it will say, okay, this policy is changed, can you apply the policy here again, new policy. So this guy will apply the policy again here, and that policy is changed now. So let's suppose from basic authentication to client ID and secret or OAuth. So next time when the consumer will try to access this, there will be new policy and they will ask, okay, we no need this username and password now, can you give me OAuth token now? If you don't have token, we will not allow. So we are not changing the code any times when we are doing these things. We are only going to API manager and updating the policies or applying the policy, that's it. And we are mapping that those policy to our code using this auto discovery ID, API ID. So any question now? Aman, you have any question?
No question. No, I'm good.
Okay, all good. So this is the things how it's work, this API gateway and auto discovery. I will show you how it's work in Anypoint platform. So you guys can do some practicals. Let me log into my Anypoint platform. Let me go to design center. So this is part of control panel. Okay. So I'm going to design one new API. Let's suppose. Mm, So this is part of RAML designing. So let's suppose there is a method test. There is a resource test, and let's suppose this is get method, and I'm not making it very complex. There is response. Then there will be some JSON. You can use some schema like for validation, or you can use some examples for JSONs. There are multiple ways you can do. You can define some threads or data types. So there are so many things, but I'm not that those are different topics, how to design the uh, raml designing and all. So I created this one is very simple, and I will now what I need to do, I will publish this one to exchange. Okay, so there is an option here to publish it, so we can publish it to exchange. So here we need to provide some version. Let's suppose you change something in raml, so after some time then you can change the version. So you have version control here. So once you publish it to exchange, okay, now done. So let's go and check in the exchange. So we have this guy here. So this is published in the exchange, and you can make it private or public. There's option here to make it private or public. So as of now, this looks like a private to me. And if you want to make it public, you can make it public also. So that's different things. Now let's go to API manager to apply some policy. So here we have option to manage API. So once you publish it to exchange, then only you will get that option here. So this is the one. Okay. Now if you are using Mule 4 and above, just select this one and save. Okay. Now it is saved. Now, as I told you, we got an API ID as in PPT. So this is the API ID we need to use for auto discovery when we are doing code in Anypoint Studio. So I will copy it and put it somewhere. Uh, let's put it here. One more thing I told you, like we need Anypoint platform client ID and secret. To communicate like a runtime agent need that one to communicate from Mule runtime to control plane. So we will get it from here. That one we will get it from here. I will show you as the access management. Yeah, here. And if you will click on the organization, you will get this client ID and secret. So this is the Anypoint platform client ID and secret. So this one is a need for many purpose, like when you are doing some deployment from Maven or CLI command, or when you are trying to access some object store APIs. There are multiple things we need this client ID and secret to access some of the APIs. Like if you are trying to do some deployment using CI/CD and you are using Maven, at that time we need this client Anypoint platform client ID and secret. So that is so there are multiple use of this one. So this is the place where we will get the client ID and secret Anypoint platform client ID and secret. Okay. Now once you got it, let's go to our code part. Uh, Let me create a new Mule project, and let's import it from Design Center, whatever we RAML we design. So it will give us everything ready. Let's training. So we are going to import this one from Design Center. This is the one. All good. Now we are going to import this one. So it will create everything for us. Uh, so it will create everything for us, whatever methods we design in the RAMLs, resource, and all those things. It will create, it will make us ready everything, and you will get some of the RAMLs and everything here. Then let's create a simple message. I'm not creating some complex business logic now. This for this one, I'll create some simple message here. Okay, that's it. Now I didn't apply any policy or any auto discovery or nothing I applied. So it will be, when I will deploy this code in the cloud, it will be public, so anyone can access. And if you want to apply some authentications here in the code itself, so if you want to change something in future, you have to come here and change the code, and again you need to redeploy. So I am not I want to make it separate. I don't want to put any authentications here. Instead I will configure that one in API manager. So if you want to change username or password or whatever you want to do, you can do it from there. So it will be easy for you. So uh, let me deploy it. I will show you. Let me deploy this code in my local. Let's see it is working or not. So now it is deployed. Let me clear the console. So this is the API URL, localhost. Let's see, getting the request. This is demo, and there is no authentications. So if I will deploy this code in cloud, you can use this host, whatever the cloud of host, and use this API. Anyone can use this one and access this API, right? So this is the public API. If I will deploy it into the cloud, so there is no authentication. No one, anyone have this URL, they will go and access this one. So let's apply the auto discovery and some policy. Okay. So here we have an option for auto discovery. So here, whatever API ID we got earlier, this is the API ID. When we create it, we need to apply it here, and we need to add it at the flow, which is the main flow. Main flow in the sense, this is the flow. Whenever request will come in here, it will apply this policy. Yeah, that's it. So we need to mention that one. Now let's deploy this. I'm going to deploy this code in the cloud. Deploy to cloud. So there are multiple ways of deploying the code. You can use CLI command or Maven, or you can export this jar and deploy the code. So, and here we need to put that client ID and secret that will be used for that needed for that agent, runtime agent, to communicate with the API manager. Let me check that one. Where that copy it. So let's suppose this is the runtime manager. So I already configured for some of the application. Just I will copy it. What is taking? Yeah. So see, this is the endpoint platform client ID, and this is an endpoint platform client secret. So from where you will get it, I already shown you. So you can copy it from there. And so one more thing I want to tell you, like when we are doing this client ID and secret, so this you want to make it encrypted. So there is some another configuration. So to make some of the property as secure, so it will be like encrypted. It will not show you this password and all. We should not make it visible, right? So if you want to make it invisible as an encrypted format, it will show star 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 here. So there is some another configurations. So we'll discuss that one later. So now it is going to deploy this code in the cloud. It's not yet started. It's look like it's still uploading the jar. Sam, are you good? Any question?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. So now it's uploaded. Now it is deploying.
So when we set up property file, so we writing like the hard code way, then we hiding, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
that is the like some configuration in Mule artifact.jsons.
Okay.
So here we need to mention some secure properties. Okay, there's some configuration here.
Yeah.
So once you will mention that is secure, okay, and you will list of property you need to mention here. And once you will mention it secure, it will not display here that one actual value. When you will show here, This will
Yeah.
come as star star star. So it will that's a different some configuration we need to do. So it will be secure.
Okay.
So no one can see this secret here. So I will arrange some training on all those configurations. One. So now it is trying to apply the policy. So whenever you see some gatekeeper or something here, it will, or you can search. What is that ID? Where is that ID? I don't know. Let's find that ID here. We'll see if this ID is there in the logs. That means it is trying to apply the policy. Yeah. So it is trying to apply that policy. That it is trying to. There is no policy we applied yet. Only we are mapping that API gatekeeper with our actual implementation API. So we have not applied any policy yet. We will apply that policy also. So now it is showing active. It is deployed. The code is deployed. Let's go and check. Let me do one thing. Let me copy this URL. Let me put in Postman. So now still we are able to access this one, right? Because we had not, even though as per this PPT, we are able to map this API gateway with this one, and but consumer is still able to access this without sending any authentication details because we had not applied any policy here. This guy is mapped. Okay, this guy is free like gatekeeper now. There's no nothing. He's not verifying anything. Okay, so to do that one, we have some other configuration. I will show you that one. So let's go to API manager again. Now this is active. You can see now when we initially when we created, it will show as unregistered and it will show as inactive. So once this is active, that means the gatekeeper is ready. Okay, and he's in the gate, but we are not tell gatekeeper, oh, can you check every request, whoever is coming, you need to verify them. So those policy we had not yet applied. So let's apply some of the policy. So here we have some configurations we need to do. So once you click on this policy, we have multiple things like whatever you want to apply: client ID enforcement, detokenization, auth, or header injections, header removal. So let's suppose some header request is coming and you don't want some of the headers to go in, so you can remove it. So there are some multiple configurations, some code you need to do. So this HTTP caching, IP blacklist. So there are multiple things, and you can apply some custom policy also. That is a different topic. So I will go for a very simple one. So let's add client ID enforcement, configure this policy, and if this is the custom expressions. If you want to pass client ID and secret in the headers, you can use this one, or you can use basic authentication header. So let's apply this one now, basic authentications. Once you click on apply, it will apply that policy. Now as per this PPT, uh, this policy is in place. Okay, now this policy is in place. So whoever will come, this gatekeeper will check the policy. Okay, this you have that authentications or not. Now from where you will get that authentication details, client ID and secret. So to get those details, you have to go to exchange again and click on this, and request access. This is request access for this guy. This guy is tightly coupled with API manager. API manager and this exchange, they are communicating with each other. So when you say okay request access, it will ask you for some of the version and some applications. So when you click on request access, you will get the client ID and secret. Okay, so this client ID and secret you can use uh, to pass for authentications, and you can share this client ID and secret with the consumer of this API, so they can use this one. Okay, so let me put it here. Let's go to Postman again. So whenever we are applying this policy, it will take some time to apply that policy. So now, as the policy is in place, this is saying authentication denied. So because we are not passing the client ID and secret, the policy is in place now. Now we need to, let's suppose we applied for basic authentications. So let me copy that client ID and secret, whatever we configure. Oh, sorry. Whatever we configure. This is the client ID and this is the client secret. Okay, so let me pass this one and try to test it now. So now see, this is working now. Once we are passing the client ID and secret, and once we'll pass something wrong, it will not allowed, invalid. It is saying unauthorized, and I have not configured any authentication authorization mechanism in my code. And this is taken care by Mule API gateway. So in future, if you want to go, if you want to change something in the authorization things, simply go to API manager. This is control plane, and change the details that will be replace your policy. Or if you want to remove the policy, you can remove it also simply from here. Not this one. This is the one. So go to policy. You can see the policy here. This policy is applied. If you want to remove it, disable it, or edit it, you can do it. If you want to add new policy, you can add new policy. Again, that will be applied. So this is how this uh, auto discovery and uh, all these things work. Yeah, API gateway. So this is like one topic. If you guys want, we'll arrange every week one topic, and we'll discuss. If this is helpful for you guys, we'll continue this one.
That's very interesting, Sushil.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. It's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Try to implement it these things from your side. Just create a endpoint platform personal account, and uh, create some design, YAML design, publish it to Exchange, and create a project in your Anypoint Studio, importing that YAML from Design Center. Then create some proxy API in API Manager. Get this auto discovery ID. Import that auto discovery ID in auto discovery in your Anypoint Studio. Deploy this in cloud. Apply some policy. Test it. So if you will do this by yourself, so it will be like you will feel like you know all this configuration. So in future, if you get this, will it's easy for you. So I will arrange some training on other topics like data weaves, transformations. There are so many functions, so many things in data weaves and all
Okay.
these things. So we'll
That would be nice if we got
yeah,
a session with on data weave.
Data
yeah.
weave, yes.
So we'll go one by one all the topics, and so it will be easy for you guys. So I will let you know what will be the next topic. Maybe data weave will be too early. So before that, we have other things also. So
Like
after two
setting
three session, we'll go for data
secrets.
weaves. And data weaves, we have multiple things we can't complete in one session. Maybe it's require 4 to 5 session at least for data weaves. So I will show you how the data weaves work, how it internally it's use Java and everything. I will show you on that session. So once you know the data weaves, at least it will be good for you guys to transform. So mainly like main things in Mule, we are doing this transformation JSON to XML, XML to JSONs, and we are formatting we are changing some of the format. So those are the main things actually. Data wave is the main in Mule. So if you know data waves, you know 50 to 60% of Mule. In 50 to 60% case only we are using data waves. That's it. So any questions? Anything? Amen.
So,
Yeah.
so if we're doing on-premises deployment, is this the same step we're gonna do, or it's different the configuration?
There are some different configurations for on-prem because the cloud hub directly can't interact with on-prem because on-prem is your local company intranet, right? So we need to configure there something else like VPN, VPC or something. So those are the separate topics to discuss for on-prem. So you are using on-prem server in your organization?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. So if you want, I will arrange that topic also on prem, how to communicate with on prem and all those things. So that is a separate topic.
Why
All
don't we
right.
do that on the next session?
Sorry, come again.
On-prem deployment.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
see. Like we'll try to do that on prem. Yeah, on prem deployment next week. So you once you deploy, like I will arrange some training like how to install this Mule runtime. If you are using this on prem means if you want to run this Mule runtime in your local environment or local server, local computer or local node, how to install that one and how we are controlling that node from the cloud up. Then this is some MMC configurations. I'll show you all those things, how to apply those
That
things.
Okay,
means
thank you.
the server is from local, right?
Local means like see, it's not, I'm not talking about AnyPoint Studio local. So if you want to like there's some worker running here, right? I'll show you. Wait, in runtime.
Yeah.
So this worker will run in your
Local.
local environment. Okay. So and you don't want to expose. Let's suppose there's some database, and that is not, we can't access those database from cloud. Okay. Let's suppose I'm deploying my application in cloud and I'm not able to access the database from cloud. So now what is the problem? What are the options? So either I need to go and deploy my Mule code in your environment, not in the cloud. That is in that case on-prem is coming into pictures. I will go to your intranet and I will install my Mule runtime there and I will deploy the code. So from there my application will able to access. Other way is either I need to create a VPN or VPC in my cloud, and we need to configure those VPN VPC in your firewall systems in your local internet and allow the access for this via tunnel, VPN VPC tunnel for these applications. So those are uh, the options. And other one more option is there some static IP also is there in the, we can assign some this worker some static IP and that static IP need to be whitelist in your firewall. So some of the people don't want all those things. So in that case we are going into on-prem. So we are not going into cloud. All the Mule application will not go to cloud, and we have to install runtime in your uh, internet, and we need to deploy applications so we can access the database. That's it. So those are the different scenario. We'll arrange some session on that. I will show you some practical example also.
So on-prem is like when you have your server at the company, right?
Correct. In your company intranet.
Thank
When you are
you.
connecting to VPN, then only you are able to access the database, right? Maybe for some of the example
Yeah.
I'm giving. because that database is not public. We can't access from anywhere. So you are connecting to your company intranet first via VPN, company network, then you are able to access. So uh, either you need to do that one, or if you want to access from outside, if you are in the company office, you are directly in the company network, no need to connect to VPN. Or if you are in the outside, you in a public area and you want to access the database, then you need to connect to VPN. Same concept apply here. A cloud hub is public. Either you need to go via VPN or you need to go inside the company network. If you are going inside the company network, that is on premises, right? And if you are in the outside public area, then you need to connect via VPN. So those are the different topic. I will arrange some session on that also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you
Thank
don't
you so
mind,
much.
about load balancing, the horizontal scaling and
So
vertical.
yeah, load balancing, scaling, all those things also. You can list down the topics. We will
Okay, sure.
move session one by one.
All right. Thank you very much.
So sometime if I will get times, I will arrange 2 sessions in a week.
Sure.
Or if I don't, I will be busy. At least 1 session in a week I will arrange. All right, guys. Like if you have any questions, we'll end the session now.
Yeah, I have no question.
All right. So thanks for joining these sessions, and
Thank you,
all
Sushil.
good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stop the recording, I mean.